Good evening, everybody. This is Brad here with the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we've got a show for you tonight. Two games that we missed, one 2 weeks ago and one over this past weekend. But that's enough of my voice. Go ahead and roll the introduction credits, Mr. Producer. So we had one really well fought match against Birmingham and one game where we kind of looked a little flat. But I'm not going to be the one to talk to you by myself about it. Let's go ahead and bring in my counterparts. First up, we have the mass podcaster himself. I said I wouldn't introduce him as that, but would you like to reveal your secret identity, good sir?
Absolutely not. Because right now, much like the 1970s fans of the New Orleans Saints who showed up with paper bags on their heads to games, we are kind of the Aints right now. And it is tough to be an Orange County fan. But you know what's even tougher, Brad?
What's even
Brad?
tougher,
Thank
mass
you. Play
podcaster?
along. Work with me here, buddy. What's even tougher is being inside this plastic bag. Jesus Christ, that was miserable.
Oh,
So
Larry!
anyway,
Wow, I'm
yeah,
surprised to see you show up tonight.
right, yeah. Hey,
I guess
didn't know
we'll
I
bid
was going to be
our
here.
I guess we'll bid our formerly masked friend adieu and welcome in our other guest this week. And that would be Mr. DK Jinx. Mr. Jinx, how are you doing this evening?
This evening I'm doing fine when I try not to think too hard about the game against North Carolina. But as far as soccer goes, I am feeling the woes.
Yeah, I mean, we have two
Understatement.
games. Understatement indeed. We have two games to talk about this week. So let's go ahead and time travel back a little bit to the game against Birmingham City. And that game, a little bit more competitive than the other one, a rain delayed game out in Birmingham. And unfortunately, Orange County ends up losing that game 3-0. Larry, what were your thoughts, for most of that match watching that game? What came to mind with Orange County and the way we played?
In actuality, the team was playing really well that game for like Keith said before we came on to the show for the first 50 minutes. Once we gave up that first goal, everything kind of fell apart. And then of course giving up two late goals in the 91st and or 89th and 94th minute. It's just miserable when a game closes out like that. When you dominate in possession, we didn't get a lot of shots on goal that game as well. I think we had a total of 4 shots on goal that game, 11 shots total. It just hard to figure out what the hell happened that night because things were looking good. We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net again.
All right, DK, I'll swap over to you. I want you to give me some, your initial thoughts about this game, but I also have another question for you. This would be probably the drippiest in terms of rain and appearance game I've ever seen in the USL. Which team had the better outfit? Would it be Orange County with the County Road kits or Birmingham Legion? I know I said City earlier with the Sprite kits.
Well, I am a huge fan of the County Road kit. I'm actually wearing it tonight. So I got to say that. I mean, I think the Sprite, jerseys, whatever it's called, again, they are cool. Works well with their sponsor, which is Coca-Cola. So I think it's pretty rad that Birmingham got to do that. However, if you're actually just going based off style, then it's got to be the County Road kit. But yeah, I mean, I think, it was a tough game. I think we deserved some points in that match. I think especially for the first 45 minutes, when I was at the bar watching it, everybody that I was with was like, yeah, we got this one. We're going to get it. We had some really good attempts on target that just barely missed out, like this one we're about to watch right now. Like, oof. If Zubak had just been able to tap it a little bit to the side, that's in. And if Flood could have just, instead of trying to take a touch and shoot it, just rocket it with his right foot, then maybe that's a goal. The crazy part really is the fact that the rain was coming down so heavy in that first half, and that's actually the half that we looked much better. As soon as it got dry, it seemed oddly enough that we were out of our element, which was a bit of a surprise. And yeah, as Larry mentioned, once they got their goal, it was about playing catch up. And unfortunately, we weren't able to have a finishing touch. And I mean, we'll get into that probably for the whole episode, but our finishing touches have been extremely weak over the past couple of months, really. So it was tough to watch. It was tough to lose that one. Really thought we could have walked away at least with a draw and would have been happy, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, Larry, I'm going to jump back to you first off. Who's on the hook this game? Is this Gomez's game? Still it's a second game with Orange County at this point. Are those goals on him, or is that more on the defense in your mind?
If I remember right, the first goal was kind of a banger. So you never see right there. That one is just, it's not a banger. It's not the one I'm thinking of. That's a defensive breakdown right there. I can't remember who. I'd have to see it again to figure out who it was who broke down on that. But that one was a defensive breakdown, no question. And then if I remember right, there's another. Yeah, I think Bryce got beat there. And then I don't know, is that Chavez in the middle, and Nakim looks like he might be a little bit out of position there on that, or maybe he's supposed to be on the front post. I don't know. I wouldn't put that on Gomez at all. When you give up another goal again, in the 89th minute, the team just tends to get really disheartened, which then leads to a third goal in the 95th minute. There was another defensive breakdown that was just really bad, and I can't remember. I think it was the 90th minute goal that they scored, and I think it was Ashton who might have just been really out of position or just misread it, and then they blew right by him. I'm going more, defensive breakdowns versus, laying that at the foot of the goalkeeper.
All right, and DK, I'm going to have you focus a little bit on the offensive end right now. Orange County in this game, let me pull up that stats chart again, held 58% of the possession and only yields 11 shots, 4 on target. What did you see from this game? And with a triple sub in the 59th minute, do you think that bringing on players like Christian Sorto, Hagar, and Norris, are those the players that you want to see right now in those situations?
I think specifically with Norris, you got to give him his due for the great performances we've seen from him lately. Unfortunately, this match was not that great performance from him. He had a couple kind of crucial giveaways in the midfield, but he's a kid, so that's going to happen at times. It's really great to get him some experience, and especially with our run of form, it's like, why not just play the kids at this point? With that game, I don't know if, having somebody else slot in like Sordo instead of him earlier on could have helped boosted us maybe a little bit more. But, I think our bench is still really shallow. And a lot of the people that we have, especially offensively, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a confidence level, because we know that these guys can score when you look back at their career. So it just seems like moments where Zubak had that cross in and he could have just tapped it in. I think he had another one earlier on where he nearly curved it into the goal and it just hit the post. And that really seems to just be the story of our offense this season is, once we do take the shots, it looks like it's nearly going to be in, but it's not fully converted, or we just can't get that tap in moment that should be a clear tap in. So it's really tough. I think there's got to be a game where they just, I don't know. I thought some of the earlier games this in July would have helped boost their confidence when we got some of those big scoring, but it didn't really seem to. So I don't know what Paul Hardyman has to do to boost that up or what needs to be shaken up on the offense, but something needs to change, and it needs to change now or we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, Larry, if you were in Paul Hardyman's shoes, other than, yelling at the players like I know you would as the umpire, what would you look to change in this situation? Because obviously what we're seeing isn't necessarily what we'd like to see or, what we expect out of this team.
God, that's a tough question. I mean, first of all, I think Paul Hardiman wears about a size 8, and I wear a size 11. So if I was in his shoes, my feet would be pretty uncomfortable, frankly. I
Odd, you know his shoe size.
What's that?
That's odd. You know his shoe size.
I don't. I'm guessing. I don't know. What would be the fix? God, excuses aren't working anymore. Injuries, we have been using that excuse all season. We've been using that excuse since the Loudon game, because that was when things turned bad. Since the Loudon game in the Cup, we shouldn't have lost that game to start with. And then from there, we've been talking about injuries, losing Brian, losing Seth, losing Kevin, losing this, losing that. Your dinner's in the microwave. Sorry, that was to Grayson. He just walked in from work. So I apologize for losing my train of thought there. So going with the injuries thing, we can't do it anymore. These guys who have been coming in for these injured players, there has been enough time for this team to start meshing and being more cohesive. And they are just not. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not even remotely qualified to try and say what needs to be done. We need to put some damn balls in the back of the net. That's what we need to do, because we are not scoring. I mean, 22 games, we are -7 on goal difference. And that's a miserable number at this point of the season.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap up the thoughts on the Birmingham match. You guys have any last thoughts here?
Go ahead.
All right.
All
Well, for me, I'll do what Ray doesn't do, and I'll give a little bit of a final thought myself. Clearly, Ethan Zubak is not the player, in my opinion, that we were told at the beginning of the season, where we were expecting double-digit goals. I love Ethan. I think he is a wonderful personality and definitely brings a lot to the team. But I don't believe we are getting the best looks out of him. And, not having a Mong in that position is definitely hurting the team. And until we can figure out the midfield, I don't know how you can get better balls out of what we've been seeing from, our ragtag 45-minute, 50-minute team members who are putting in, their best efforts to try to get something up there. And I'll use that to segue to this next match. Speaking of getting something up there, 0 is the number. I will be the count. 0. Ha ha ha. That's how many shots on goal, as we alluded to at the beginning of the show, Orange County had against my home state, North Carolina FC. Was this, DK, was this a case of North Carolina's defense clamping down on Orange County, or is it really as bad as we thought, or as we've been saying Orange County has been producing all season?
Yeah, I rewatched the match, and when you look at, North Carolina's season, their defense isn't anything to get excited about. It's not like the worst in the league by any means, but we just fumbled this one, and we fumbled it hard. And, I think Larry even mentioned it. It's a lack of chemistry between, the midfield and the offense, really. But I put a lot more of that blame on the offense, because I saw some fantastic passes from Lamb, from Flood, from Dylan Powers, from Scott, some great through balls, some great long balls up into the box that were just completely fumbled by the offense. I think in the first 15, 20 minutes, we got into the final third a ton. And once we got into the final third, we got right to the top of the box, and then we just gave it away to their defenders. It's not like their defenders were making some great tackles to keep us back. We just would give it away to them. And we had 5 shots on target, we had 5 shots all game, 0 on target. That is just abysmal. It's really, really tough to see. And especially when you have some great through balls from Scott where nobody was there, and I blame that more on the person not being there than on Scott. He saw the lane, he passed it into it, nobody got there. Lamb sent in a fantastic cross from almost the half line into Zubak, who had a completely open header and hit it over the bar. you got to get those down. And I don't know what it is. If, like I mentioned, if they need confidence, if we need a new signing up top, but something has to change, something with the chemistry, something with the confidence. It's tough to watch performances like that.
Larry, give me your opening thoughts on this game.
Tough to watch is an understatement, I think, for this game. This was one of since 2018. I've been coming to the champ and watching games, and this is arguably one of the hardest games to watch that we have played in the now 7 seasons that I've been coming out there. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting. There was nothing to cheer about. The County Line Coalition did everything that they could. They did. County Line Coalition, for those of you watching, guys, you did your job on Saturday night without question. You guys were loud and you were engaged and you were doing all that you can, and just there was nothing in it from this team. And I would love to have been in the locker room prior to the game to see what the energy was like in the locker room, because everything once they came out onto the pitch was just flat. I mean, it was flat and it was unengaging. And I think if I had been watching at home, I probably would have turned this game off in the 60th minute and just waited for updates to come onto my phone, because it wasn't watchable. It was bad, just bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'll elaborate on that. There are 11 players on the field at any time, and it seemed like only one of them's goal was to win. And that person was, in my opinion, Mr. Gomez, the goalie. I think in the 3 games he's played so far this season, the clean sheet against San Antonio, I think he played a pretty good job against Birmingham, 3 goals beside. I really, I kind of have to echo what Larry said. I think one of those might be on him, but not all 3 of those are on Gomez in that game. And then lastly, North Carolina, they're not a dangerous team. They've only won 1 game on the road this season prior to winning in the champ on this past Saturday. But, this game's not on him. He can't be like Shetler and score a goal at the beginning of the season because, goalies don't typically score. But, I think right now he's probably, if he continues to be the goalie that we have in the field, he might be the person most likely to score in future games given in our current form. So, I'll give him a good grade so far in his tenure with Orange County. Did not think he'd be playing this well. Everybody else, there needs to be a hard discussion about what to do, especially in that final third. We've pinpointed it for 2.5 seasons now. So, how do I ask this question? You know what, DK, I'm going to choose you because I think you're eager to answer, and I haven't called on you in a while. But where do you go from here? In terms of, we're looking forward in a couple days to Tulsa. Hopefully some players are starting to come back. What's your wish list? 5 things or 3 things. What's your wish list for this Tulsa game other than healthy players?
My biggest wish list is a new signing on the offense. I think we need a new striker, or an attacking mid, somebody that can take a shot from the top of the net. I don't know if it's too late in the season at this point. I know there's been signings a lot last week from the league. I don't know if a new signing is going to be the answer to all of our prayers in regards of saving this team. I can't be confident in that either, but we need some new energy up top. And, although, of course we can hope that Among comes back soon, I also don't think Among is the player that can save, this team. He's not somebody that takes shots from the top of the net. He's really strong. He gets in the box and he can tap them in, and he can score from the 6, but can he score from the 18? I haven't really seen it much. not to take anything away from Among. I would love to have Among back, but we need something else up there. And then, like, to piggyback off of that, my wish list is just to have this team go and take risks. Like, if we're going to watch them play and we're going to watch them lose, then take risks, take shots from outside the box, go in hard, just do something, try to get a shot on target, whether it's right at the keeper. Once we watch this North Carolina game, like, I would have just loved to see anything creative or anything confident or anything risk-taking wise on our offense, because in reality, when you watch this match, like, our defense did their job for the most part. They kept, North Carolina back. There were some great clearances. As you said, I think Gomez has been performing really, really well. I don't think the Birmingham game is to blame on him, despite the scoreline either. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say anything right now other than just there needs to be a change in the offense. I don't know if that's taking Zubac out of the start and bringing him in the second half and putting like Sordo or Dunbar in that spot, changing up the tactics, doing a false nine or something. I don't know. Something has to change. And I think if we can rely on our midfield, because you have players like Scott, and I think Hegart does fairly well too. They can pass the ball into those lanes. We just need somebody to actually connect with it and take a shot. And I don't see the confidence in either Jameson or Zubac to take shots. I think Jameson has a lot of strengths and he has a lot of room to grow as he's a young kid and a young talent. But I think his biggest weakness as an winger or even a striker when at times is his confidence at taking shots. The amazing shot that we saw him score against Colorado, he was shocked that went in. And we need somebody who's going to take those shots and expect them to go in.
Yeah, not be shocked.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you saw that, when he had, acres of space after a brilliant pass from Powers in the first half. And he could have just taken that in and at least had a shot on target, but it went right into the side netting. So we need somebody with confidence up top, whether that's a new signing or whether that's giving somebody else another shot at starting. I don't know, but that's what I want to see. I want to see a change up and a big one.
Let me ask the two of you a question. Are we spoiled as Orange County Soccer Club fans by way of goal scorers? Because let's go back to 18. Thomas Enevoldsen, 19 goals. 2020, I think we had Michael Seaton with 12 or 14 goals. I could be wrong on that. Forget 2020, 2021, we had a great spread out and a lot of people, and we had Enevoldsen coming back late in the season and scoring goals. 22, 23, we had that Eloski kid scoring a whole bunch of goals. Okay. Are we spoiled?
I think there's a middle ground there, because yeah, sure, we might be spoiled. However, there's a stat that, Thomas Among has 5 goals of the season, which is the most on our team, and he's been gone for 2 months. That's crazy. Nobody's been able to catch up to 5 goals in his absence. And that's wild to me. So yeah, maybe we've been spoiled with all these, high goal scorers over the season. And the thing is you don't need somebody to be, 17 to 22 goals in a season to be a successful team. You don't need one player to do that. You can spread it out, and that's fine. But we need somebody who can have confidence, somebody who can and will take a shot when they have an opening. And we just don't have that right now.
I will argue, yes, Orange County was spoiled, but only on the top end. I don't have the stats on hand of who was the second most goal scoring members of the team in those 4 seasons that you pointed out, Larry. But I doubt they reached double digits. And if they did, I'm clearly not as big of a stat buff as you guys are. But Brian Milanowski, when he was scoring his 20 goals in the season that we finished cellar dwellers in the West, nobody else was scoring on that team. It was just the Milan show. And even I'll extend it to last year. Amon came and had a wonderful season playing second fiddle to Milan, but you know we still finished. I mean, we finished I think second in the West, which was impressive, but we didn't go past Phoenix, who were the eventual champions, and it really was tough seeing the team kind of capitulate that late in the playoffs and not figure out how to score again, kind of reverting to old form. Uh, I'm going to do a refocus question with you guys. I want to see where you are because we've talked about, and I know there was a poll on the page asking what your guys' panic point level. We're sitting in 7th in the West right now. It's a very, very close race. Phoenix is the closest team at the bottom of the table that could really catch us immediately with 25 points in 10th. It's 2 points between 7th and 10th. And yet we're still 5 points out of third. Is this truly a panic moment coming 2 weeks ago where we played probably one of our best games of the season against San Antonio and 4 weeks removed from when we went 4-1 against Memphis? Are we really hitting the panic button, reset everything, or do we keep hope in this team and hope that they'll figure it out and still remain in this playoff position?
It's not panic mode yet. Okay. However, in regards to those standings and what you just mentioned and teams that could catch us, Phoenix is 2 points behind us with a game in hand. Tulsa is 2 points behind us with 3 games in hand. That is a huge concern. That is a big, big concern because those two gets the couple of points from those games where they that they have in hand on us. And guess what? All of a sudden, we are not above the playoff line. We are below the playoff line. And at that point, when that happens, that's when the panic sits in. I think that if by the end of August, we haven't put up a couple of wins, and it's not going to be easy because we don't. I mean, August is a tough month. Who else we got this month? We've got Tulsa, who's playing decently, playing better than us on paper right now. Who follows up that? I know we got Las Vegas.
El Paso.
Okay, well, let's not take anything for granted because we just got beat by a team who's only won 1 game on the road all year. So let's not. I would say El Paso on the 17th. I think that might be a make or break game. That is a team that we should absolutely beat. There should be talking about a team that's won 3 games all year. They're not a good soccer club. We should win that game. We should have no problem winning that game. I say we. I'm not on the team. For any of you wondering out there, no, I don't play for the team. We, as in the club, and those of us who love the club. We got to get 3 points out of that game. What happens against Tulsa this weekend? A tie would be acceptable. And after that, we got to see what happens. But if come September, we are still sitting in the spot where we are sitting right now and playing like they played on Saturday. I mean, it's too late to reset. At that point, you just put in Nico Ruiz and see what happens from there and see if that boy can put some balls in the back of the net because, hell, nobody else is at the moment.
DK, what say you? You are pulling a Brad right now.
Oops.
I think that's my first Brad I've pulled. But yeah, I mean, if I'm not in panic mode now, which I might be, I'm real close. Just because, if we can't get out of August with at least 2 wins, then, I mean, we're fighting for 8th place probably. Just to sneak into the playoffs. And then if we're playing the same way that we are, how are we going to do anything in the playoffs against the number 1 seed? So I'm real close to panic. I think if the club can sign a new striker this week, which I wish I had hints that I'm dropping here for you guys, but I have no idea. So I have no idea if they are. I have no idea if that's a plan. I really, really hope it is. If they do, I might get some excitement. But I'm real worried about this Tulsa match. And I'm sure we'll dive into that soon. But I have reasons to be worried. And I think all of us should be. So, we got to escape with a point because although we have El Paso and Vegas, which Vegas is looking really good right now too. We also have Charleston, and
terrifying.
Yeah, that terrifies. We have Charleston away. We are going to Charleston to play them, and I am absolutely terrified of that. So we have 2 games that we can potentially win something. If we can get 6 points this month, I might feel a little bit better, but I'm not even confident that we'll get 6 points if we're playing how we have been.
All right. Well, I will hold my judgment till the end of August as well. There really is urgency, regardless of where you are at the panic meter. We can all argue urgency, needing to change something. And for me, I really like Hardyman ball. I see the idea. I see the plan. The execution is really needing to come together pretty quickly if the team wants to save any chance of playoffs. So let's go ahead and talk about that Tulsa match. Larry had said that there are 3 games in hand on us, 2 points down below us in the table. DK, what do you think about this game? Have you done any research about the Tulsa team and what we can expect?
Yeah, I have. The biggest thing that worries me is they haven't lost in 8 matches. So that is really concerning. I know they had a really rough start to their season, but as has also been pointed out, they have 3 games in hand on us. So they've played a lot less, and it seems that they're getting stronger and stronger throughout the season while we are getting weaker and weaker throughout the season. I don't think that they're a super high-scoring team from what I've seen from their last games. Usually it's a 1-0 or a 0-0 or a 1-1 kind of a deal. So I think if our defense is on it and really goes hard on those set pieces, because we've been falling to those a bit as well, and covers are outside, hopefully Dogman's back so that we can really have Lamb and Dogman on the wing, on the sides to stop those crosses from going in, then I might feel confident we can get a draw out of this. But unfortunately, unless one of our defenders scores, I don't really see us getting a goal at this point. I will say that I think keeping Gomez between the sticks is the right move. Because, again, I think he's been playing really well, and the losses have not been his fault. But, yeah, I'm really worried that it's going to be they sneak in 1 goal and all the wind gets taken out of our sails like it did against North Carolina. And I have no reason to not think that. I don't know if there's a moment this season, maybe it happened to Detroit, but I don't think there's a moment this season where we've come back after getting scored on, or first. There might be 1, there might be 2 moments to get a win at least, maybe a draw. But I think if we get scored on first, it's hard to have faith. And you got to watch Goodrum. I mean, he's been a proven USL talent in the past few years, and he'll be right at the top for them. So we got to stop Goodrum. We got to hold things down and hope our offense can change their fate.
All right, Larry, my question for you on this is what feels like another season ago, March 30th, Orange County played against Tulsa at home, a 1-0 draw. Leading up to that game, we had talked with the members over at the Tulsa podcast, which name kind of eludes me right now, but they had mentioned to us that they had brought in a lot of names that they weren't confident in, and obviously it showed then. However, now it feels like the tables have kind of flipped. So for you, my question for you is, what do you need to see out of this Orange County team in this upcoming match to match up against a Tulsa team that hasn't lost in 8 games, like DK said?
Well, Tulsa hasn't lost in 8 games, but Tulsa is, if you look at the stats and you look at the scoring lines of their players, their top scorer has 5 goals in 16 games. Our top scorer has 5 goals in 13 games. Their second leading goal scorer has 4 goals. Our second leading goal scorer has 4 goals. They have scored, I think I saw it was 21 goals
21,
in
yep.
19 games, and we have 25 in 22 games. So this game is we are not going to see a 4-3 game. I can say that with absolute certainty because Tulsa's not scoring goals, and God knows we are not scoring goals. So what do I want to see out of this? I would just, if it's a 0-0 draw, I will be okay with that. If we can just see some inspired play, if we can see some cohesiveness among this with this team, see some of those through balls get to the feet of our guys up in front, see some of those crosses find heads, and those heads at least get the ball onto target. There's got to be something that I was reading in the comments. I don't know who said it or where it was exactly. Somebody was yelling from the stands, "Inspire us." Oh, it was producer Andy who posted that. He heard it. Inspire us. I don't care how it happens. I don't care what it is that inspires us. Bring freaking Brian Olowski out there on crutches. That would inspire the hell out of me. I don't think Brian's on crutches right now, but I think you guys get what I'm saying here. There's got to be something that's going to fire up the team, fire up the fan base, because the crowd, with the exception of the CLC doing their thing like they've been doing for years upon years upon years, but the rest of the crowd was just sitting up there in the stands going, that was mid. I love that word mid, by the way. It makes me feel like I'm young and hip when I use it. Brad's just over there going, what is he talking about? So someone was me. I am someone. Thank you, Andy. It just let's see something that excites us. And I don't care what it is, just something that makes us want to come back the following week and go, oh, hell yeah, let's go.
All right. I mean, I want to be inspired too, Larry. So I'll go ahead and flip it right back to you. Can you inspire me with your score prediction for this matchup?
I already said it, 0-0. How's that for inspiration?
DK, what say you again?
1-0 Tulsa.
All right. And go ahead and drop your predictions in the chat, and we'll reach back to those at the end of the show. For me, I'm going to evoke the spirit of Ray, and just given on how much negativity we have had in this show, and I want to prove Mr. Larry wrong and say that it's going to be a goal fest for Orange County, 5-1, because I don't believe we can keep a clean sheet with how our defense has looked once or twice a game. So I'll say 5-1 just to differentiate myself from Ray as well. And that's going to be my official prediction going in the spreadsheet in a second.
Okay. That's bold. It's a bold move, Cotton.
All right. Well, I have one more quick little discussion that I want to bring up with you guys before we kind of go into our, soccer news, random thoughts. I'll say 2 more things. First, it's been about a month and a half since the departure of Morten Carlson and the roller coaster tenure that we've had so far with Paul Hardiman as interim and now permanent till the end of the season tenure. I believe there's, one of his first games was the Memphis game where Orange County lit up the scoreboard 4-1. We've seen games like the Tampa Bay game where it was 2-0, and we had Paul on after that show, and he walked us through kind of what happened that game and thought we had a really good showing then. But we've also had these last 2 weeks of, dare I say, abysmal performance from the team with lacking any sort of creativity. Just give me a to F grade. I'll go to DK first. What do you think so far of the Paul Hardiman era about a month and a half through?
I like the potential that I see of it, but I don't think it's there yet. So I'll give a C+ to this era currently. And that could either shoot up or free fall down within just a few games. I think this week especially is when he really needs to bring this team together. And as has been mentioned multiple times, the chemistry between this squad right now is severely lacking. But I think that there's some good hints of some great soccer that we saw from Carlson last season of really playing through the midfield, trusting players like Scott and even this new signee, Chris Hegart, and Dalen Powers, now that he's back, to really get some good balls up into the final third. So we just need some chemistry between them and the offense to turn those things around. And if he can do it, then I'm all behind him. But if not, then it's going to be rough next year for Mr.
All right, Larry, what do you think, and kind of give us your reasons why A to F?
I am not going to give Hardiman the grade. I'm going to give the team the grade, and it's a very, very soft C, and that might even be being a little bit generous. Again, we need to see more creativity out there. We need to see a sense of urgency. Might be a good thing to start seeing, realizing that the team's got to realize, the guys out there got to realize that we can't have games. The team cannot have games like this last one against North Carolina where we don't even get a shot on goal. I would like to see it more of a sense of urgency out there. I would like to see more cohesiveness. I would like to see Erling Haaland come and join the team. I hear he's pretty good and he can score some goals. I don't know if he's available for loan right now. But yeah, I'm going to go a very soft C, borderline C minus. If we don't get a good grade on our midterm final, it's definitely dropping to a D on the next report card. So let's just, again, I'm going to go back to, let's get inspired. Let's see something exciting. Let's see something fun. Let's see something that's going to fire up us while we're watching the game from our couches or from the bar, where we're jumping out of our recliners and just fist pumping, going, hell yeah, let's go. And this team has it in them because they've done it already this year. They haven't done it very often, but they have done it this year, and I think that they still can. I sure as hell hope they can.
I will give in this case, I'll wait it. I'll leave out this North Carolina match. I want to forget that match even existed. I'm going to give this a B minus so far from Hardiman. I think the highs have been really high, showed the plan, the cohesion. The injuries have kind of inhibited this team a little bit. However, I think he's gone and brought in players that fit, just haven't been kind of found their spot in the puzzle. Bringing in Chris Hegart, bringing in Gomez amongst others, and
Chavez.
Chavez, and I'll go ahead and wrap it around, bringing in another 16-year-old kid, Pedro. I don't want to mess up the last name, but Guimaraes. Yeah, someone that is coming in highly touted from the I believe LAFC Academy within the MLS Next Pro, a really good prospect. So, I want to see players like him. If we can't turn the season around, I want to see players like him get their opportunity in this roster. And I think Hardiman is the manager who will recognize, hey, play the kids, because he's given plenty of opportunities to players like Ben Norris who've gotten extensive minutes under him. So before we kind of wrap things up, let's go ahead and bring in our score predictions. So I guess I'll do some more talking. Really no separation this last couple of weeks. People are not quite swapping over to the law, so I don't think, even though we're saying a lot of doom and gloom and panic button, it hasn't really shown up in the prediction game. Taylor has run away with it. Still 5 points, one perfect match prediction over Kayvon, but has opened up a near insurmountable lead over us, quote unquote, experts within the Orange and Black Soccer Cast realm. Michael is 10 points behind in third, and not really much more to say. I think we all thought North Carolina was going to be a little gimme matchup, but there appears to be no such thing in the USL Championship at this point, especially when it comes to Orange County. So obviously we had a lot of doom and gloom, and I feel like we all need to at least recognize and say one thing, because we all recognize that there's a lot of talent on this Orange County team. And so that mine doesn't get stolen, I'm going to go ahead and go first. I really do like Hardyman Ball. Again, I'm leaving out this North Carolina game. I really do think the team has tried to utilize new, approaches in the midfield, given we have been crippled there and have seen a lot of members gone. But they're getting it to that final third. And I do believe the talent that we have up front, I think Jameson is a goal scorer who hasn't hit the net much, but the kids we have on this team, they're going places. Bryce Jameson's going places. Pedro, who we just signed, is going places. And our veterans, they're solid contributing players, when healthy. Kyle Scott's going to go places, and he's someone I consider a veteran at this point. If the rumor is true that we turned down a potential six-figure deal for him, it's because he's worth more than that to us, and he is coming every week and really tried to shoulder this team because he's about the only healthy presence that we've had all season. So the talent is there. I think they'll figure it out. Larry, what's your positive take?
My positive take. I love seeing Tomas Gomez in the goal. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of Colin Shuttler. I like the maturity that comes with having a 31-year-old goalkeeper. Now, granted, the guy hasn't played. He hasn't even been on the pitch in, I think these last 3 games are the first 3 games he's played in almost 2 years. But that shows you what a consummate professional this guy is. The guy hasn't been between the pipes in forever, comes in, pitches a shutout. You cannot hate on something like that. You've got to love, and you got to get a little bit excited about somebody doing something like that when they haven't been given opportunities, and then when they get them, they're taking full advantage of it. So I'm really loving that right now. Kyle Scott in the middle has been brilliant from the first whistle of the first game right up through the last whistle of this game on against Birmingham Legion. We're not talking about North Carolina ever again. That's the last time I'm even saying the state's name, unless I'm talking about Duke basketball. We're never mentioning it again. So, Kyle has been fantastic. And this is a lot of really good players. And there is a good mix of youth. There is a good mix of experience. And there's some guys that are right there in between, like the Chris Haggard, Jesus Christ, thank you very much. Haggard, I lost my mind for a second there. Losing Brian Olowski is devastating to this team. Brian Olowski has been the heart and soul. He hasn't been the face because, baby brother was the face, putting all those balls in the back of the net the last couple of years. But Brian has been the heart and soul of this team for 3-4 years. I've lost track how long he's been here. It feels like forever. And that was a devastating loss. And I think that has a huge part to do with, where things turned bad. But there's so many pluses on this team, and there's still things to get excited about. And I am absolutely certain that in these next 12 games, over these next 2.5 months, there's going to be a whole lot for us to cheer about during that time.
DK?
Obviously everybody's talking about Kyle Scott. He's been fantastic, 95% of the time. So of course that's always going to be a positive. Love Gomez and his performances. So I got to agree with all you guys there. In the comments, Cameron had mentioned Owen Lamb, which, he got man of the match this last match. I would also agree that he deserved it. He was definitely the best player on the pitch, beside maybe Gomez. And I think, although I wouldn't agree with Cameron in the sense that, Lamb has been the player of the season so far, I think Lamb has, in these past few weeks, really stepped it up from kind of a lackluster performance that I saw of him earlier on in the season, because we've been seeing those fantastic crosses. We've been seeing some great crucial plays on the defense from him. And, of course, we've seen a goal or two, I believe now. 2 goals. Yeah. So we're getting the Lamb that we knew and loved last season, and we're getting him now in a crucial moment of our season in 2024. So if he can keep it up and other players can come in to match him, then we can be feared again. And Owen Lamb, I've been loving watching him play the past month. So I really hope he continues to shine, and hopefully he'll bring out that confidence in others.
All right. So before we move into random thoughts, I'll open up one more time. Random soccer news or other soccer news. You guys got anything? I will
Yes,
take
Erling Haaland might be available for us to sign. A guy can dream, right?
I'll while we're speaking of dreams that I know won't come to fruition, the United States men's soccer team is embarrassing, and I'll leave it at that. And move into random thoughts. DK, give me your random thought this week.
My random thought this week is that I went and saw Longlegs, which everybody has been, raving about in the horror community, and I thought it was not that great. So I'm on the minority there as far as the film community goes, because I thought it was all style and very little substance. So that's my hot take of the evening. That might piss off some people.
Larry, go ahead.
Been reading a lot of stuff online and watching some Olympics and stuff, and I'm just going to say this very simply: it's the torso. It is not the foot. It is the torso. It has always been the torso. It's going to always be the torso. If you know, you know.
I won't even fill it in. I know exactly what you're talking about. My random thought this week was I was ready to talk about my new job and kind of just be very appreciative of that. But then Larry had to go and slander my home state, and
it's so easy.
There's a reason why the North Carolina state flag scarf is on my wall. I grew up watching the Railhawks, and I will not stand. I am sitting for this slander. It's a great state, much better than South Carolina.
Well, duh.
So, with that, after I get my chance to defend my home state, and before Larry has a chance to rebuke, I'll go ahead and close up the show there. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope to see you guys back next week with better news against this Tulsa game. 5:30 Pacific time on Friday, I believe this game is. Yes. Thank you all for coming in, and with that, we are out.